Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order Memorial Week. This is a big week in Columbus. The kids are coming into town for the biggest official visit weekend to start everything off. Camps are next week. Big update on Felix Ojo, a kid that we've watched a lot. We're going to talk about some of the intel that we've gotten recently on him and his potential commitment to Ohio State. We're going to break all that down. As always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate all you guys that are on here each and every night. I know that this is sadly kind of rainy in Columbus. It's Memorial Week, so it's always a little bit rainy and damp and not necessarily great. But I hope you guys get out and patronize and have a good time. If you guys are going to the tournament, the program was today, so you saw a lot of the stars out there, so it was a really good time. But again, I'm excited about the direction of this program. The summer's about to be crazy with the recruiting, the camps. We're going to have full coverage, Bill Greene, Joe Drame. We have a ton of guys who are going to be on the ground. Super excited about that. But if you guys want to support our show, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click the little alert bell so you get an alert every time we go live, which is generally 7:10 every night. But we move it around if there's a game conflict or whatever. So we're going to make sure you guys don't have to miss anything that you want to watch. In addition, if you guys could give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, that would be tremendous. Again, we've been growing that platform at a very rapid rate. If you guys could give us a 5-star review, that'd be excellent, because there's a lot of people that give us we have 95% 5-star reviews, and then we have a small percentage of 1-star troll morons. So if you guys want to help fight the good fight, leave us a 5-star review and make sure you guys click subscribe, send it to your friends, completely free, super easy to do. And if you guys want the best experience for all of this, please join BuckeyeScoop.com. What an incredible community. I'm so grateful for you guys. And just really excited about the direction of the summer. And I'm bringing in my great friend and my partner, Nevadabuck. Nevada, the board has been on fire. A first official visit weekend of the summer is here. It's Memorial Weekend, which is a huge weekend in Columbus, Ohio. But we got a little bit of ditty on Felix Ojo, who is the #1 target on the offensive tackle board. Spectacular athlete, very agile kid, a kid with a tremendous upside. What's some of the intel that you're getting out of the Woody Hayes and from the collectives about the direction of Felix Ojo's recruitment?
Well, the first thing is going to be a public service announcement. If you're going to the memorial or going to the tournament or anything, it's like, don't drink and drive. Always call an Uber or take a cab. What? I'm giving a public service announcement.
That is a great idea. Make sure you get in the cab. But if you go to shut the door, do not.
Kirk, if you get in the cab, nothing bad can happen to you.
Nothing bad can happen to you. If you get in the cab, if you've had a few too many, if you're celebrating the biggest sale of your career, double check before you shut the door so there's not a cop's arm in it. Oh my God, you went there. Yes. That's why. Oh my God, that's why I love you. That's why it's the greatest show of all time.
No, I wasn't even thinking of. I can't believe that you even brought that up, Ben. I wasn't even thinking about that. Oh man. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That was shocking. That was shocking of me to do that.
When you cab there, when you know you're going to be drinking, and then you have a great day, and you get this huge deal done, and this is amazing, and you celebrate, and it's like you Uber there. And then you Uber home. Yeah. And again, that's what you're supposed to do. Again, Uber is the greatest thing ever. And again, you want to be safe, make sure that everyone gets home safe, make sure that you're safe. If you're going to partake and have a little fun, you got to make sure you Uber both ways, because nothing bad can happen once you get into the cab.
Nothing. You're safe. You're safe. It's like mother's arms, embracing you, taking you, bringing you home.
Yeah. But the second addendum to Nevadabuck's plea to make sure that we are being safe, and again, we're not being silly. Again, if you guys do partake, make sure you guys take a cab home, make sure you Uber home. But if you do happen to get tased, make sure you take it like a champ and don't scream like a little girl. Try not to go too viral. But yeah, that was that was a time. That was a time. Man.
Okay. Well, get on to other shocking news. We'll get on to Felix Ojo.
No, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. God. No, he didn't. Shocking. I
Oh
get
man,
it. Because the
I
taser is
get it. The
electricity and
taser
it
was
shocks
shocking.
you.
It was
No
shocking. It was shocking.
way. There's no way you
Yeah,
just went there. There's no
I
way.
did. I did. It was Felix Ojo, and it was shocking.
I
So,
feel like I'm just going to send a charge through the entire program.
oh my goodness. Okay, so enough of your silliness there now.
I know.
Felix Ojo. So Felix Ojo coming in this weekend, and it's interesting because the Buckeyes obviously have been on a roll across the board, but I don't think any group has been hotter than the offensive line. And obviously you talk about doing work. They've got three offensive, essentially three offensive line coaches now that are all willing, able, and very capable of helping on the recruiting track, and they're hitting it really hard. They've basically put together an NIL package with the collective that they feel is compelling. They don't feel like Felix Ojo is exclusively an NIL kid, which is always good. That's one of the first questions that I ask when I'm asking about a kid is the kid just about NIL? They're saying no. They're saying that they believe that Felix is kind of buying what they're selling, um, and they believe that kind of the secret sauce, the thing that they feel like really kind of gives them an edge, is the faith aspect. And last year a lot was made of Ohio State's commitment to faith, and we don't want to take it too far off the rails of football with discussions about religion. But Ohio State had kind of put the religious aspect kind of front and center on that team last year, and they went and won a national championship. And for a lot of players that really resonates. And Felix Ojo is one of those kids. So Ohio State's, in a position right now with a player that, maybe some other people are counting them out. Maybe some other people are, not sure kind of where they stand, but they feel like they've got a real shot at them. And I've heard from a couple of people that they believe they actually may be in the leader spot. So coming in this weekend, bunch of other five-star kids with him. He's certainly going to be a guy that gets a lion's share of the attention. Like I said, it's a star-studded group of incoming recruits this weekend. But Felix Ojo is a guy that they feel like they're pushing the right buttons. They feel like he's buying what they're selling. And this official visit, obviously these are always important, but with him, they really feel like they're going to leave knowing whether or not they're going to get him. What, even though he's got other visits to go, other places to visit, they feel like this is their time to kind of go into get into buy mode, and they feel like that they could might be able to close the deal with him. So we'll see, but lots to like about Felix Ojo, and I would not be shocked if we heard some good news from Felix Ojo before the end of the weekend. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think with Felix Ojo, it comes down to, do you want to go somewhere that knows how to develop tackles, put them in the first round at a rate that's higher than anywhere, and also deal with the best culture in college football, along with winning, national championships, great development along the edge. Because again, I was talking in pre-show when we were kind of going through, what we were talking about, and it's like, we put Paris in the league at 6 overall, and then Donnie was a pseudo tackle for the second half of the year after Josh Simmons tore his patellar tendon, and so he goes first round, and then Josh Simmons goes first round. So it's like we've had 3 first round tackles essentially, and I know Donnie is a swing guy and he'll play guard in the NFL. You don't have to educate me on that, but 3 of our guys went to the league. Josh Farr has a good shot to make the Cardinals. DeJuan Jones is going to start at left tackle for the Browns this year. So DeJuan, if he stays in shape and he stays healthy, again, DeJuan's biggest bugaboo is his weight and his ability to stay healthy, because his last 2 seasons he's ended on IR, but he is penciled in to be the starting left tackle for the Cleveland Browns this year. So again, he's on a short-term contract as a mid-round pick. And if he balls out, dude, he's going to sign for $90 million, $100 million. If the guy from the Steelers can sign for $84 million over 4 years, DeJuan Jones wipes his hind end with that kid. And that kid signed a 4-year, $84 million deal with the Tennessee Titans. And I was like, he led the NFL in sacks allowed. So, and Dwan's bigger, stronger, younger, and he's going to hit free agency. So again, there is this pathway to the league, and I think that what Ryan Day has done with the offensive line room is genius. The fact that he has, at this time last year, and again, I've said this a million times on the show, and again, I don't get jealous of anything, but the fact that Ryan was like, you know what? Tyler Bowen has coached the offensive line like one time in the last 7 years, and he's been tight ends coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. He's had all these different titles, but he's an O-line guy. He played O-line at Maryland, and so he's an O-line guy, like true and true. But then he goes out and gets Marcus Johnson, who I think is an excellent coach at Purdue. And I have immaculate sources at Purdue that said how good of a person he was, how sharp he was. And he gets Charlie Dickey, who's Mike Gundy's offensive line coach. And Mike Gundy's an offensive guy. So again, you know, and this is a guy that stuck with Mike Gundy for a long time. And he's got those Texas roots, because again, if you're at Oklahoma State, you've got to be drilled down into Texas. You got to know it. Marcus Johnson's got those Southern roots because he played at Ole Miss, and then he coached at Mississippi State. So again, you get the swath of territories for the O-line recruiting that's incredible. And again, I think that in the era of kind of, you know, they took the cap off of the number of coaches that can actually coach, I think it's amazing. And Ryan Day took full advantage of it. And these coaches are putting the press on a lot of these kids. But, you know, Felix Ojo is a kid that's, you know, is compelling. And again, if you're a kid like Felix Ojo, as great as it is to maybe make a little bit more change, maybe somewhere else, like I'd be like, well, who have you put in the league recently? And obviously Texas had the Outland winner last year, the left tackle that went in the top 20, really nice player. But, you know, Ohio State with their culture consistently has been better. You know, you look at Paris. I mean, Paris is going to make $30 million a year on his next deal. You look at, you know, DeWand will probably make $20 million a year on his next deal. And then you look at the guys that we just had go in the first round with Donnie and Josh Simmons. Like, it's just, I'd be like, dude, like, this is like my goal with my kids. And I tell my wife, Kim, this, you guys all know Kim. And I'm like, look, if my kid decides to play football, which I don't care if he does, but if he does and he wants to be good at it, the most important thing will be the development and the culture fit. That's it. The money is not going to matter to me. I'm not going to make my kid go somewhere because they offer him another little chunk of change when I'm like, look, I am the NIL. If I'm Felix Ojo's folks and agent, I'm like, look, you got to go somewhere with a stable environment. Ryan Day, again, 7-year extension, $15 million a year, 3 offensive line coaches, Mickey Marotti, who's the best strength coach in the history of college football. That's where I want my kid to go and go do whatever they tell you to do. And I'd call Monica Daniels, who's Paris Johnson's mother, and say, hey, what was your plan? And let's mimic that and copy that. Because again, you know, when you can go somewhere where you don't have to reinvent the wheel, it makes it way easier. I mean, you don't have to be some trailblazer or some, well, I'm going to go to, you know, this school that's never had a first rounder. They've had, you know, like Oregon's had, they had Penasel and they had the kid last year, Connolly, but like they've had like 2 good tackles in their history. It's like Ohio State's had like 100. Yeah, so like go to Ohio State, or, you know, Texas has had good tackles. But, you know, the thing I don't worry about with Steve Sarkisian is that he's an NFL guy. Like his core of core is NFL. So, you know, if Texas is our biggest competition, I'm like, dude, like that guy is dying to get back to the league. He was flirting with the Dallas Cowboys last year, hardcore, you know, under the radar negotiations. And all of a sudden he's back at Texas because it didn't work out and they ended up going with a different coach. So again, I'd want my kid to have his 3 or 4 years at a school with a consistent coach and coaching staff. And with Ryan and this new 7-year extension, like I just think that it's very compelling. And on top of that, our NIL group is killing it. The foundation, Brian Schottenstein, these guys. So it's going to be a big weekend, man. But I just know that we're lock, stock, and barrel for this kid. And the biggest thing that I didn't even mention is that, you know, Ethan Oniano is a senior. You know, so he's gone. The left tackle is gone. So, you know, if this kid feels like he can play, now he's a little undersized, 280 pounds, but, you know, if he thinks he's good enough to put in that work, like the starter is gone. So it's not like you have some sophomore starting and you got to sit for 2 or 3 years. Like if that's the spot you want, the depth chart is free and clear, and, you know, you're got to beat out the kids that are on the roster and any potential transfer portal guys. But I think that it's compelling for a kid like Felix Ojo. Nevada, any thoughts on that? I'm going to click his phone back on.
Well, I just have always been of the opinion, and you know this because you know when we're talking about this offline, I say the same things that I say when I'm online, which is I think these situations tend to self-select, and that if a kid is only about the NIL, if a kid is not solely focused on development, um, if a kid thinks he's better than he is or deserves more than he does, then I'm not sure he's the right fit for Ohio State. And these things, none of these situations are done in a vacuum. Everything that you do with a kid, when you pay him money, when you bring him in, when you promise him a position or a chance or whatever, has an impact on other people on the roster. And so, you've got to be fair. You've got to. It's almost like dealing, in a business where you've got total transparency about what everybody makes, because people talk, the agents talk, the players talk, and if you overpay, a young 18-year-old kid who's never done anything in high school, and then what do you say to Austin Zierveld or to Luke Montgomery or to Carson Hinsman, or Tegra, guys that have played for you, won a national championship for you, done it all. Like, what are those guys worth then? So it just sets off a cavalcade. So you've got to have a firm handle on what you're willing to pay, what you're going to pay, and that's got to be it. And for some kids, you're going to get outbid, and some kids are going to go and chase the money and do it. And I'm not talking specifically about Felix. I'm just talking about in general. But if that's how situations work out, I I I mean, I've said it a million times. I think these things always work out for the best. Generally, when we miss out on kids like that, we don't spend years worrying about, wow, I wish we had this kid, I wish that this had happened, because if we had this kid we'd be different. And that you could go virtually any recruit over the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and somehow some way we survive, somehow we're going to survive without David Sanders or Jordan Seaton or Samson Okaloa, or just pick a player, and we're going to be fine in terms of doing it. So I really think that these situations have a way of kind of working out for the best. And with Felix, I think I feel really good about where Ohio State is, because I think that it's the type of sale job that we can do well on. It's the type of situation where we can win. And with him coming in, it's a perfect weekend for these visits. He's going to be surrounded by, he's going to see the talent that's potentially coming in with him. You're there with guys like Caden Dixon Wyatt, who are, superstar athletes. So I just really like our chances. But, I'm just looking forward to seeing kind of how receptive he is to the pitch that Ohio State's making this weekend, because this is when the rubber meets the road. This is when, when the offers are made. And I'm talking about,
Mhm.
specifics and getting down to brass tacks about, what is it going to be? How much is it going to be? Where's it going to be? And I think with Ohio State, they're getting pretty good at finding out, is a kid, a guy that's going to be part of the program, or is this a kid that's just shopping and looking to jump in the pool with somebody else? So we'll find out, and I'm excited about it. But I do like what I'm hearing. So I'm definitely encouraged coming into this big recruiting weekend about Ojo.
Yeah, and I think that when you evaluate everything, again, you name some of the great names that we've gone through in the past, two, three, four, five, six. I mean, I go back 10 years. So the Chantrell Henderson recruitment, where it was like the world was ending, and Kenyatta Goodwin, who went to Kentucky, and it's I mean this sincerely. I feel bad for some of the big kids that go elsewhere and they miss out on the development of Ohio State, the winning at Ohio State, the culture of Ohio State, and just what they've been doing, man. Again, I just think when you're a big guy, man, and you're a guy who's a project, and Felix Ojo is a project. He's 285 pounds, or whatever. It's like David Sanders, you know, the strength coach is 10 times more important than the NIL deal. And I've seen Mickey do work. I mean, I saw Mickey when Mickey first showed up in 2012, man. It was a nuclear bomb dropping in the Woody Hayes, and our guys magically all lost a ton of fat, a lot of weight. It wasn't fun, it wasn't chill, it wasn't Club Med, but I saw what he did for our guys, and he made Andrew Norwell, generationally wealthy, and Corey Lindsley generational wealthy. Like our strength program before Mickey showed up wasn't that great, and all of a sudden Mickey shows up, and these guys, they turn the corner. I mean, Corey Lindsey's the highest paid center, in NFL history when he signed his deal with the LA Chargers, and Andrew Norwell was the highest paid guard in history when he signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, and again, that's the kid that was undrafted, and Corey's a fifth round pick, but they got to the league, man, and they're ready to eat and feast, and they did major work. And I think that for a kid, some of these kids like Jordan Seaton, and David Sanders Jr. and some of these guys that they don't go, I just don't think they're going to get developed the way that they need to, So, I mean, when you're Felix Ojo and it's like, because we'll match, I mean, we are hyper competitive on NIL. Like, I know we're offering Tyler Atkinson and, outside of, Oregon and USC where he's not going to go, like, we're crushing Georgia right now in that department. So, again, I know that some people are like, oh, well, I'm worried about these people or these folks or these spenders or Texas or whatever. But, like we're hyper competitive because we saw what it did. And we're very, I don't say we're frugal, but we're very sharp with the numbers. We're not just leaving a lot of fat on the bone where all of a sudden we're paying somebody too much and you regret it. And, like we know what the market is. And that's why Mark Pantoni makes a bunch of money now. Instead of making 350 grand, he makes, over or close to $1 million this year. It's because he's been really sharp and he doesn't pay when he doesn't have to. And there's an agreement in the staff. And I think that it's, you've seen, we have dominated the NIL landscape better than any school in the country. And it's because of, how sharp our coaches are, how sharp Mark Biantoni is, and Brian Schottenstein, the foundation. They really know what the value of these guys are. Because again, if somebody's going to get paid some crazy artificial number, then you just let them go, let them walk and say, have a nice day and I hope you enjoy it. But, when, again, this is like if somebody wants to pay too much for something and you let it go, and then they're probably going to have buyer's remorse later. And I think that with our guys, especially with the lack of, we've got a retention fund right now, but we also have a lot of guys that are gone, and so our budget for this class is substantial, and that's why I think a guy like Felix Ojo makes a lot of sense. Nevada, any thoughts of that? We could dig into a couple of super chats.
Oh no, I like I said, it's fun to see when these kids come in, and what I'm looking for is who are they hanging out with. We've had instances where kids have come in on these recruiting visits, and we've actually had kids be recruited for other schools while they're on their Ohio State visit, which has happened. It hasn't happened a lot, but I can usually tell by who they're. Are they hanging around the committed kids? Are they hanging around uncommitted kids? Are they hanging around uncommitted kids that we are likely to be headed elsewhere? Are they hanging around uncommitted kids that are likely to be coming to Ohio State? I think you can tell a lot by kind of the little clicks that kind of evolve as they're getting here. And this weekend being, this is, while we've had official visits before, this is kind of the big kickoff for a visual visit weekend. So I think it can really kind of set the tone. Ohio State can continue their momentum and get it going. And nobody's hotter on the recruiting trail right now than Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Felix Ojo right there in the crosshairs. So let's get it on this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait. Iowa Buck, thanks for the 5. He says, do you think Quincy Porter will have an impact this year? It looks like a specimen. Thanks for all you do. Can't wait to wrap my gear. Appreciate you guys. Our gear drop was an incredible success. So thank you guys that ordered it. Should be here in the next 2 weeks. So they ordered the blanks. They got to get them printed, ship them out. Again, Nevada and I don't touch it. We've got an incredible vendor that does it for us. And we had a good conversation today. So the blanks, as soon as they get in, they start the work, they ship them out, and they ship it quick. So again, I appreciate you guys that order our gear. I'll be rocking my national championship hoodie a lot, and I can't wait to see it. Nevada, I'll let you go first on this. Do you think Quincy Porter will have an impact this year? Again, this is a fascinating kid. This is a 5-star wide receiver, but in the land of 5 stars, it's tough to break it as a true freshman. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting about Quincy because there was a time in this recruitment where there was a chance that he was going to head elsewhere. And, he was a kid that we were keeping a really close eye on. And, at the time, you're kind of philosophical about this, but, once he's got here, yeah, I'm sure glad he didn't go elsewhere because I agree. He is a specimen. He is really good. Will he make an impact this year? I think that's the operative word is this year. I think it's going to be hard, but only just because we have, you know, a the deepest wide receiver room that we've ever had. Will he make an impact at Ohio State before he leaves Ohio State? Without question. Without question he will. But is is it a situation where he can break through and you've got Carnell Tate, you've got Brandon Ennis, you've got JJ, you've got Mylan Graham, obviously the star of the spring game. Um, I think it's going to be hard for Quincy to do that, but I'm really optimistic about his longer term possibilities because he's, like I said, he's a terrific, terrific player. But man, we're deep at wide receiver, so I hope when he gets in there, he gets a chance to get some burn. Um, but I don't know if he'll make a substantial impact this year.
Yeah, it's tough. I got his highlights on. His highlights are incredible, but I mean, we had Mylan Graham last year, who's a superstar, and he's a kid that, I mean, there's just not a lot of, we're on 60 to 65 plays a game. JJ has to get 10 targets, and Carnell has to get 6 or 7 targets, and Emeka Egbuka has to get 6 or 7 targets, and then you got to run the ball, and then you got to, I mean, it's tough because at best right now, Quincy's our fifth best receiver at best, in my opinion. Obviously, when you've got JJ's number one in the entire universe at this point, and then you got Carnell's number two, and he'd be number one on every team in the country except for this team because JJ. You got Ennis, who's going to be our slot. You got Mylan Graham, who is an absolute superstar Garrett Wilson type player. So those are 4 SFE guys right at the top of the depth chart. And then you got Max Clare, who might be the best receiving tight end that we've ever had. And then you throw in Quincy. So, this is why Brian Hartline and his culture has been incredible because Quincy's a kid who's a 5-star kid and he's all that in a bag of chips. But, all these guys have had to wait their turn. Marvin Harrison Jr., who is in the argument for greatest receiver in Ohio State history for his career at Ohio State, didn't play much as a freshman. He stood and watched. He didn't play till the Rose Bowl. Nevadabuck, if you guys are on Buckeye Scoop, Nevadabuck was talking about in his Nuggets during bowl practice and Showtime scrimmages how he was lighting it up and shredding people. So, and then all of a sudden he goes out and gets 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl after he barely played all season. So that's kind of what I think Quincy Porter's role is going to be. Again, short of knock on wood or any material around you, something happening where there's an injury, which again, I don't want any of these kids. I love all these kids. I love Ennis and I've known these kids for years. But short of something like that happening, I don't know what kind of impact you can have as a true freshman number 5. Now, that doesn't mean you can't turn into a top 10 pick or a top 5 pick like Marvin did. Like, yeah, go look at Marvin's freshman year. Before the Rose Bowl, most folks probably didn't even know he existed, but then he gets in that Rose Bowl and he's, the second best player on the field behind Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka. Emeka was incredible that game, and obviously CJ Stroud. So I can't see a big role for Quincy. He is a freak of nature dog, a guy that, again, I always talk about guys that you should buy stock in, like buy every penny of Quincy Porter stock. If there was some way that you could trade valuations on these kids on some app, I would be like, empty the clip on that kid because he's that dude. He's him. But as long as JJ's here and your Carnell's gonna be here for another year, probably go to the league after this. It's tough, because he's gonna be JJ's backup. But again, if JJ sprains an ankle or breaks a shoelace, which again I hope he never does, but then Quincy's gonna be in for a big role because he's a feature top flight level receiver. D Sunny, what is up, brother? Thank you for the 5. As always. It says, D Sunny, he says, how are NIL deals usually structured? Are those year to year, or do some incoming freshmen lock in for multiple years? I think it depends on the kid. I think that there are multiple year deals that exist. In general, I feel like it's a year to year thing because there's always a renegotiation based upon your play, your status on the team. It's not kind of a binary thing where they say, "Hey, you're worth this much money, and we're going to pay you," unless you're, like Underwood at Michigan, who got 10 million over 4 years, 2.5 a year. If you're that guy and you're a top drawer guy, and they want to lock you in, then like I think that the kid that's the tackle that went to the Miami Hurricanes, who was the Jackson Cantwell, he got a multi-year deal. Drew Rosenhaus negotiated it. He locked it in. He wanted to get set up, and Drew wanted him to be in Miami. Like Drew, when Drew Rosenhaus gets claws in you, it's like, hey, you should be a Hurricane because you'll be right in my backyard. I can take care of you. You got the parents. That's how some of this works. Now, do I think that kid made the greatest decision ever go to Miami? I don't think so, because shaky ground down there. But he locked in a very substantial multi-year deal. He didn't get a big chunk of money up front, and sometimes that's great. But sometimes that kid turns into Samson Okunlola. Like Samson Okunlola, was a kid that we did podcasts on. He was a 5-star kid, best offensive lineman in the country his senior year, and he's not even in there too deep. I was looking at, sometimes with these kids that we miss on, look up Kenyatta Goodwin, look up Samson Okunlola. These are 4 and 5-star kids. I mean, Samson was a 5-star for sure. I think Kenyatta was a 4-star. But when we miss on these kids, it's like the entire universe is collapsing and we're all going to die. And then you look back 3 years later and you're like, yeah, these guys really weren't that good. They really couldn't play. So that's why I always preach caution and exercise. Hey guys, like if we do miss on a kid, the world will not end. Like, David Sanders Jr., who committed to Tennessee, got to come to the Horseshoe and watch the team that he selected get worked by the runner-up. I mean, get ran out of the gym by the team that was the runner-up. So, don't always, be ultra depressed when we don't get a kid that we might want. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, descending thanks for the 5. He says, how are NIL deals usually structured? Are they always year to year, or do some have, or do some incoming freshmen lock in for multiple years? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, they're all over the board, but I mean, typically they have an idea of what it's going to be, and they've got kind of escalators for different types of stuff that goes on. They'll say, hey, look, if you perform, we'll renegotiate in this area, we'll do that, and they have kind of floors for different kids. They have to with this many kids on the on the roster, and they kind of slot things. It's almost like draft picks in terms of where they're going to be getting money, but yeah, no, I think now for the big kids all want to know what they're going to get, and they're commanding big money. I mean, the amount of money that some of these kids are getting, we don't like to talk about it because it's kind of, frankly, I find it kind of depressing to hear how much some of these kids are making in NIL, but it's not insignificant. I mean, it's changed radically the way agents used to not be able to monetize these potential players until they were pros, and now they've developed this entire other revenue stream of being able to monetize these kids while they're still in college. And that's been a boon for agents and for younger agents who can get, more players and kids, because even role players are making money. And so, if you're taking, a percentage of that, and you've got enough of these kids, it can be significant. And then, if you're lucky, you can be like David Sanders. You can see the guys run out without their shirts on out there when it was like negative 18 degrees uh that night. Because let me tell you what, it was cold that night. Anybody who was there that night for the
Uh,
Ohio State game, it was cold. It was legit cold. And so when they
uh,
came out with the tiger balm on their bodies, and those big fat guys running out there all greased up and running around trying to pretend like it wasn't cold for them, yeah, I knew that they were done. I literally did. I turned to my kids and I'm like, oh, they're so done. They're so trying to convince us that they're not cold, but they're super cold, and then we ran them out of the building. So that was kind of fun all the way around.
yeah, it's like the scared dogs barking the loudest. Like if I ever saw some guy run out there with no shirt on and whatever, it's like you're really trying to be something that you're not. 'Cause most of those kids from Tennessee, they're from the South and they want to prove, oh, the cold doesn't really affect us, so we're gonna run out here naked and do our thing. And I'd be like, you're such a clown. Like, who cares? Like, put your shirt on. Like, if they put their shirts on like in the middle of the warm up, and then they go back in after they do their dynamic thing, and they've come out in their full gear, and it's like, you're just such a douchebag when you do that kind of stuff, and it never ends up working out well. But again, that's where he picked, and again, he got to watch Ohio State go and run the table, win the national championship, and have two of their tackles go in the first round. So God bless him. I hope that works out like that at Tennessee. But again, when someone's on a heater like Ryan Day's on, why would you not want to join that? Again, that's kind of an intelligence question at that point. So, all right, Nevada, good show tonight. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, look, we're almost into June, and it's like June, July, visits and doing our thing, and then August we're kicking it off for 2025. So, like this off season, I'm not sure. Would you say this off season's been fast or slow, or how has it been for you? Has it been a fast off season and slow off season?
I I feel like it's been fast just because of the recruiting, the NIL. We had an incredible transfer portal in the winter, so you're getting into spring ball and Ethan Onianwa, Max Clare, you're coming back and getting Bo Atkinson in the second window was incredible. The new coaching staff, Patricia and Tyler Bowen and Heartline getting elevated. I feel like it's been pretty fast just because the amount of interest around Ohio State has been crazy. And plus, on top of that, we had this incredible bumper crop of kids that went to the NFL. Chip Kelly goes to the league. So you have all of these things that kind of, to me, certified that last year was the best team in school history. When you look at Jim Knowles becomes the highest paid coordinator in college history, Chip Kelly becomes the highest paid coordinator in NFL history, and we have the 15 guys get drafted. And I don't know. It feels like it's been a great celebration because those kids landed where they need to land. Our coaches moved on. We have a new blood in the coaching staff room. It feels like it's gone fast. And plus, we open with Texas, who was the team that we knocked out of the playoffs. And if Texas beats us, they won the national championship. We beat them, so we won the national championship. Notre Dame was kind of just cannon fodder once we get to that game. But I think it's gone pretty fast. Like I joke, and again, I'm not jealous of it, but I was like, man, I wish we could have played Notre Dame in the title game, because when we played Notre Dame in a bowl game, we ran them out of the building in Scottsdale. But it's been pretty fast, and I've enjoyed it. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think, because we ended so late too. I mean, we really, the season, the year before our season ended in mid-December, and now or late December or whatever it was, and now it ended at the end of January. So, yeah, to me, this has been super fast. And like you said, we're staring down the barrel of a opening game against Texas. So, the off season seemed to get slid. There doesn't seem to be an off season anymore with portal windows and spring ball and summer conditioning and the fall practice. So yeah, it's pretty much, it used to be you'd have an off season, no off seasons anymore in Ohio State football. So it all runs together in my mind.
Yeah, but it's been a good run. All right, with that being said, as always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys that have been on here each and every night. Again, our show has been incredible. All thanks to you guys, and it's continuing to grow. If you guys go to the Memorial, make sure you guys are careful. Have a good time. Make sure you guys Uber home. It looks like the weather is not going to be too great, but make sure you try to stay dry as best you can. If you guys want to help us out in a major way, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Again, I appreciate all you guys that already do that. Leave us a 5-star review. Again, we're growing all of our platforms, so follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, or X, excuse me. But especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're trying to grow those ones. Those are ones that have been lagging behind. You guys have been helping us. So again, your podcast up inside your iPhone or your iPad, super easy to do. Type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe, and you're done. It's completely free. And leave us a 5-star review. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7:10. Cannot wait to talk to you guys as we head into this huge official visit weekend. So I hope you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.